Hi friends, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. This is your daily news fix. So we're going to start with this. Mortgage rates are up. You can see this here. 30-year fixed mortgage rate just hit 8%. So if you're in the housing market right now, you're probably, feeling a lot of stress like, oh my God, rates just keep going up. This is the first time since the year 2000. So what we like a 23-year high basically. And to put this in perspective, guys, you can see here. So a couple of years ago, right? 2 years ago, if you got a 30-year fixed at 3% and you paid, 400, put 20% down, your mortgage is now $1,000 more a month. And this is a, pretty sizable amount. And, the one thing I will say is I don't expect it to go down anytime soon because the Fed keeps saying we're going to keep rates elevated. So this is definitely big news for those of you who are in the housing market. In world news, I made a separate video about the hospital bombing. Biden is currently in Israel. There was supposed to be basically a peace talk with other Arab nation, but that has been hence canceled. So we'll see what good Biden can do, and I'll give you updated if there's any news coming out of that. Moreover, talking about U.S. politics, evidently Jordan, so he's going up for speaker, loses again in the second vote. So essentially, if you are unfamiliar with this kind of stuff, they're trying to figure out, okay, what's on the agenda going forward. And essentially, he needs to get everyone on his party on board. Now, if you remember McCarthy, when he was going for speaker, there was definitely a resistance among a group. And I think right now the group that is resisting, and this is kind of more the Republicans that are more to the right of him, there's 22 of these people, evidently. So they're not going for Jordan, and you guys can see here, some votes are for Scalise, some are McCarthy. I'm not sure who Zeldin is, to be honest. I'm just not sure. And then a few, error votes here and there. Jeffries, actually, the Democratic side, he's got 212. Jordan's got 1-9. So actually, Jeffries has more votes, but still not enough to win. If I had to bet, the Republicans will do some kind of deal to get him through. We'll see, and we'll keep an eye on that. Moreover, markets were down today. In fact, treasury yields are up. And you guys know we have the situation in Israel, which is dominating the headlines the last week or so. And moreover, there's actually been some headlines out of China. I haven't mentioned it because there's just so much to talk about with the Israel situation, but don't sleep on this if you want to, pay attention to the markets. NVIDIA is being affected because the USA is essentially restricting export on chips to China. And this would, obviously hurt all the chip companies. And moreover, we have some news about Country Garden. There's talk they may default, which we toss for a lot. So as I said before, whenever you talk about Country Garden, no news doesn't necessarily mean good news. No news just means we haven't heard, worse news yet. Here's a headline here. You can read it for yourself. Country Garden default looms after builder says unlikely to pay. And they're saying here the grace period is like October 17th to 18th. So that's right about now. And we'll see if we get news tomorrow on this. And there's also, this is real estate. There's also other interesting news coming out of real estate. This is in the USA, though, that I wanted to bring up. And actually, people have mentioned this stuff in comments. We're talking about home insurance being really high in Florida. And if you're in Florida or face a similar thing, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. But basically, people are like, it's just too high. Time to, skip town. Now, depending on the value of your home, right, and depending on your situation, you may face, higher premiums, just depending on your situation. But in these particular people's situation, they had a home and they're like, hey, we're going to be paying, what is this, per year, $125,000 in insurance, which is like really a lot. And that's 7 times more than what they paid last year, which is kind of crazy. And then more than 13 times more what they paid in 2019. So imagine like you got your house 4 years ago and your insurance has got up, 13 times. Evidently, though, they switch providers, which you got to do. You got to check around. And then now they're paying like $33,000. But that's still double what they were paying before. And there are reports that people are paying essentially double and triple. So I think this 13 times, 7 times is kind of the outlier. But I don't think anyone's insurance is going down. And if you're curious, Florida, they gave a couple different reasons. So one was they said extreme weather, which I think is a big deal, right? So, if you're an insurance company and you look at your forecasting models that like you have to insure homes that face, any number flooding or wind, these kind of things, trees falling down your house, or, whatever. That costs a lot of money, right? You guys get this just out insurance, because insurance generally doesn't want to pay anything, right? They want to keep your money and hope that you're safe. So insuring areas that your risk of extreme weather is a big problem, right? And Florida's been in that for a lot. They're also saying here a higher cost to rebuild. So that's an interesting one. So like, say your house gets destroyed by whatever, flooding, hurricane, etc., and then the insurance has to come in, assess the damage, and then to try to help you rebuild it would costs are going up on that kind of thing. So that's one thing. And then a rise in litigation, so like getting sued more. It sounds like a recipe for, I don't want to live in Florida because my housing insurance is going up, and that's something that's been going on. Even the mayor of a town, which is kind of interesting. He's saying here, he was saying here, this is a Palm Beach County, the mayor, Greg Weiss, his premium doubled to $20,000. So, everything is obviously going to depend on, your situation. Some people are going without home insurance, and they just say going bare. And, it's funny because, my feeling on this is like, God, if you have to pay this much as insurance, it's just, you're kind of just throwing your money away. And it's not like you wish that your house to be destroyed, so you can use your insurance. You guys get the gist of this thing. So generally you don't really, your life doesn't feel better with insurance, but obviously when you need it, you need it. But if you live in a place where, this coverage is too expensive, it makes it hard to stay, especially for older people. So again, if you're in any of these areas, and I don't know if it's only Florida or others, I've heard Florida is the worst for this kind of thing. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular topic. There's another one that's really interesting in real estate. There's a couple of lawsuits that may really change the real estate industry forever. And this is regarding agent fees. I want to go ahead and read this stuff with you guys because I think you'll find it fascinating. And again, this may change it. And essentially, a couple lawsuits are claiming, they use the word conspiracy, but claim monopoly / conspiracy. So let's read this together here. Home buyers rarely pay their agents, right? So the buyers don't pay, it's actually the sellers. Instead, sellers pay their own agents, who in turn share commissions with the buyer's representative, right? In the typical transaction, the total agent compensation are 5 to 6% of the sale price, right? So if the home price is $400,000, then you have 20,000 commission split a couple of ways, right? So in most markets, publishing the amount of compensation offered to the buyer's agent is a condition for listing a home on multiple listing service, a vital tool for marketing a home, meaning that the more incentive you give on the buyer side, right? Because if you're selling a house, the more incentive you give to the buying agent to show the house to potential buyers. That's part of the marketing, which is kind of interesting how this system works. Let's read it more here. So the plaintiffs in the class actions, who are home sellers in different regions of the country, that's why it's a class action, because multiple states, say the longstanding industry rules amount to a conspiracy to keep costs high in violation of U.S. antitrust laws. This is very interesting. This is coming up. Buyers, they say, have little incentive to negotiate with their agents because they don't pay them directly, while sellers are loath to experiment with lower commission rate for fear that agents will steer clients away from their home. So again, because the way our system works, the seller pays the agent, then essentially the agent, you're because they're trying to get buyers to come in and sell the house. If you don't offer a higher commission for the buying agent, it's no incentive for that, because essentially this is what it is. This is where there's a bit of corruption here. When you get a real estate agent, they might necessarily be, in it 100% for you. Obviously, it depends on your agent, but they may be looking, hey, which home am I personally going to make the most money? And I will show you ones where I personally make the most money, right? So there could be a house out there that's great for you, but they don't get a big enough commission. Do you guys see my point in this? And so I think it's interesting. And the other thing too, when I was reading through this stuff is, in this day and age with the internet and the way that things are, do we need real estate agents at all? I'm just being honest, because there could be a whole other system that we could do. And the National Association of Realtors, actually, they're the defendants here, but they actually are facing another challenge. And I didn't mention this. This came about a week or so ago. Like I said, there's always news to talk about. And, putting these two things together, the lawsuit, essentially saying monopoly conspiracy, plus they're dealing with a bunch of sexual harassment stuff. So like I said, I read this stuff a week or so ago. It was like weird stuff. And just be honest, it was weird stuff of like someone showing how what's the word to say it appropriate way. How about this? Private parts to employees and on their phone and stuff like that. And I don't mean to make light of it in terms of like it is dishonest. If someone is sexually harassing, a family member, like your daughter, your wife, etc. I mean, there's no excuse for that kind of stuff. So I don't want to make light of that. I'm more laughing because it's so ridiculous, the stuff that people do. And, there's no excuse for it. And evidently Redfin's like, hey, we're just cutting ties with these people. Now, what's interesting about the National Realtor Association is they have a trademark on the word realtor, because you could say real estate agent or you could say realtor. And essentially, if you want to be called a realtor, you join this association, the National Association of Realtors, right? So that's the trademark. And they get a ton of money in fees. So, putting these couple of stories together, could we see a massive revolution in the way that homes are bought and sold in the USA? I mean, there's certainly a possibility of that. And we'll keep an eye on that. And in this day and age, with the way social media works and the way information gets out there, generally speaking, I think just my advice to you, don't necessarily take pictures of your private parts and send them out to anyone, because ultimately someone's going to find out that you're doing this. And that's my advice to you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on any one of these stories, especially on the real estate stuff. And thank you for your time, and I'll catch you next video.